Hi everyone, welcome to the Coding Channel. Today is the 6th episode of our Java tutorial series for beginners. And in this episode, we are going to talk about how to display column output with a highlight of using a printf method in Java. This and more when we come back. Now, our source code for today will focus on displaying this information in a column format, or should I say in table format. Now, I have here the variable declarations and initializations of two students. For instance, we have a string stud name with a value of Irandon Laureta, and then stud name 2, Kyle Ison. These are our new subscribers in this channel. So shout out to the both of you guys. And then, for example, the student number. So I have declared an integer here with two different values, and then the a double data type for the student grade, and if the student is currently enrolled or not. Okay, so basically, based on what you have learned from our previous example about input and output, so basically you're going to use the print or a PRINTLN. So let me just show it to you. Okay, so for instance, if you want to display this, we'll be using PRINTLN. Okay, for example. So we will try to display first the column name for this. So I will be using, okay, for instance, let's try to display the studnum. Okay, so studnum, and then we will be using the escape character tab just to have a space in between for the other column name. Okay, so I have to add, for example, the stud name as my column heading. Let's try to just use a capital letter here. And then what else? So tab is another tab, for example, and then we have a student grade. Okay, or stud grade. Sorry. And then let's try another tab there. And for example, is enrolled. Okay, so that's it. Now, if you are going to run, let me check the output. So we now have the student number, and then we have tab here, so space, and then stud name, space, stud grade, space, is enrolled. Okay, so if you're going to add one more tab here, let's try to run again. Okay, so there is enough space for the student number, and then the name, and then student grade. So what about the values? Okay, for example, the student information. Okay, so let's try another system.out.println. So let me just copy this one and put it here. So let's try for the student number. We will try now to display 2021-001, for example. This one is no. Why not we just have to use the variables? Okay, so we have a studnum, and then plus, since we need to put a tab, so let's try to have one tab first there, then we'll try the output later. Next is we have the stud name variable for the student name 1, and then what else? Plus, for example, another tab here for the stud name, and then let me just copy this one. Okay, and then I'll just have to put it here. Okay, we'll see. Then plus. Okay, so we have the stud name. No. Let me replace this one with the stud grade. And we have the is enrolled. Okay, and a semicolon. So there you go. Let's try another. Okay, so as you can see, by just simply using the println method, okay, we have now, okay, this one is ideal, okay, but after printing the random Laureta here, since the number of character um, between the student name and then the student name column name, okay, so as you can see, there is a little bit of a space after the name and also the true here. So we will try to adjust after printing 99.75, for example. Let's try to add another backslash t here for the student enrolled. Okay, so that's it. So this is I'm just showing you now the usual way that we use every time we are tasked to display a column output. Okay, let me just finish this first for the second student. So let's say, for example, let's try to change this one with the student num2 and then student name 2 for Kyle Ison, for example, and then student grade 2 and is enrolled 2. Okay, and then let's try now to run again. Okay, let me check the is enrolled 2. What's the error? Stud num 2 plus stud name 2. Okay. Stud grade 2. Okay, sorry. This one is stud grade. This one is stud grade 2. Okay, check. Okay, there you go. So, okay. So that is this is now the simple way on how we could actually display an output in a column of format or in a table of format. So I just want to show you another way, which is, and then you decide which one is the more easy to use or more appropriate when it comes to displaying an output. So let me just add here. I'll just have to add another system that out that print here for a new line. Okay, for instance. Okay, now another way of doing this, which is the new to you, is the printf method. Okay, so we have a system dot out dot printf. Okay, now the number of arguments of a printf is somewhat um, different to println or print method. Okay, it's because basically, the printf has two arguments. Okay, the first argument, these are the format, and then the second argument, possibly the string that you want to display, or the variables, the column names, for example, that you want to put here. And then you can just add another columns here or another variables there separated by comma. Okay, so let me show you now. Okay, so for instance, I want to display 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. All these are strings, right? So using the printf, we need to have a double quote here, okay, and then we use the percent sign. Okay, so when we are trying to display or planning to display a string, okay, and these are 4 arguments, for example, stud noun, stud name, stud grade, and is enrolled. These are strings, so we will be having 4 percent s here. Okay, and then another percent s. So percent s, percent s, percent s, percent s. So meaning we are planning to have to display 4 arguments, and these are the data type are all a string type. Okay, and then after the first argument or comma, okay, so we will now try to display the column name. So for example, a stud num, okay, it's a double quote, and then comma, and then if you want to have a stud name here, okay, so you just have to put another there. Okay, that's it, comma again, and then for the stud grade, okay, we just have to put it here. Okay, for instance, student grade, and then, I'm sorry, have to put comma here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the last one is enrolled, for example. This is our column name. Okay, then you have to put a double quote and a semicolon. Okay, so let's try now to run. Okay, and observe the difference of using println and a printf. Okay, so now what have you noticed? Okay, we have an extra backslash here. That's why we have that. Again, if we have now %s, %s, %s. Okay, now, so that's it. Okay, as you can see, there are no spaces in between column names. Okay, so what are we going to do? We need to specify the number of characters. So let's say, for example, we need to allot for the stud num 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Then if you want to put in an extra space, for example, before the stud name, so let's try 10. Okay, so where are we gonna put that value? In between the percent and then s. Okay, so like for instance, we have 10s. What about for stud name? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's try another. Okay, another 10. And then for the stud grade, okay, let's just try all in 10, for example. So 10s, 10s, and then 10s. Okay, but in a student name, take note that later we will be displaying the student name. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So most probably for the student name, let's try to allot 20 spaces. Okay, so the first 10s, 10s is for the student num, and then another %20s for the student name and student grade and for is enrolled. Okay, let's try to run again. Okay, so there you go. Okay, what have you noticed? Using %10s, okay, so this is now the stud num. So by default, this one is right aligned. Okay, if you put positive values there. Okay, so for example, stud num 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 characters, and then including the 3 spaces here going to the left edge, for example. So the total is 10 s. So same thing with the student name. So from here up to this point, okay, that is the 20 character plus the white space there. Okay, and then another 10s for the student grade. Okay, but take note, we need to add more. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then 10. So most probably, okay, let me show you first. Okay, if you want to make this one left aligned, for instance, the stud name and the stud num, okay, all we need to do is just to add a negative sign before the value. It's like -10. Okay, so when we put a negative here, for example, let's say I'll try to add a -10, and then the last one, which is the is enrolled column, is a positive 10, meaning that's the only right align, the rest left align. Okay, let's try to run again. Okay, now so we have now the stud num with a right, left aligned. Same with stud name, left aligned, and then this one, the stud grade. Okay, so let's try. So far, so good. Okay, now what about for the first student information? So let's try another. Let's try to use a system dot out dot printf. Okay, and then the first argument again is the format string. Okay, so since that one is a 4, so we will be using again %. Well, let me just copy this one. Okay, then we just have to put it here. Okay, but take note. Okay, what is the difference now? We are going to display different data types. For the student number, it's integer. Okay, so if it's an integer, instead of S, we use D for decimal. Okay, and then for this one for the name, so S. And then for the a double data type for the student grade, so we use %f or floating point. Okay, and then for the boolean, so we use b. That's it for boolean. And then after the first argument of the format string, so we will now type here the variable name. Okay, so that's the only difference. The variable name, stud name, num, we have a stud name, another stud grade, and is enrolled. Okay, and semicolon, for example. There you go. Let's try. Let's try to run. Okay, now what have you noticed? After printing the first printf, okay, you have stud num, stud name, stud grade, and is enrolled. Okay, if you have noticed that the output for the second statement of printf is still on the current line. It's because printf is almost like print. After printing, the insertion point or cursor stays on the current line. It doesn't have a new line, okay? Or it doesn't force a new line, to display the succeeding output statement in the next line. So what are we going to do is after here, okay, after the in the format string, at the end, you just have to put the \n there. So we will be using the \n escape character. So let's try again to run. So there you go. It's as simple it is. So the only difference here is that we display true. It's because this one is right aligned. Okay, so if you want to have an extra space here, so all we need to do is adjust the 10. So let's try to make it 15, for example. I'm sorry, 15. We will try to use a 15S and 15B. Okay, for the is enrolled column. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so this one is a positive 15. That's why it's right aligned. And then the rest left aligned. So let's try to add one more student. Okay, so you just have to copy this one and we will just change the variable. So this one for student number 2, for example, student name 2, student grade 2, and is enrolled 2. Okay. Then run. So that's it. Okay, what have you noticed again? Since we failed to put a \n at the end of the format string. Okay, so let's try another. Run this one. Okay, so there you go. We have now we have displayed now the student information in a table format. So I presented to you using a PRINTLN or print. So which one is for you is the best output statement? If you're going to ask me, of course, the printf is ideal for printing the formatted text or columns compared to println that you are going to adjust the how many tabs are there that you need to put there. But in here, you just need to put, for example, as simple as this one. Okay. Now, what else? Let me try again. Okay. If you have noticed, the student grade, take note that we only have two decimal places here. And then this one, for example, 98.50. But using println, it displayed 98.5. The 0 is omitted. Okay. And then when we use the printf, and then after we print the double data type, So by default, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 decimal places here. So what are we going to do if we want to just display at least 2 decimal places there? Okay. So let's try to adjust. Or is it possible? Yes, that is possible. So we will just put here instead of negative 10f, we will add another, so negative 10.2. Okay, so that means to say that we are forcing to display only to 2 decimal places. Okay, same thing here. So 10.2f. That's it. Then let's try to run, and there you go. Okay, so that's why it's very convenient to use a printf compared to println. So this are code for this episode. If you have questions regarding this episode, don't forget to drop your comment in the comment section, and I'm more than willing to answer all your questions because it's my passion to teach. And that's all for today. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And as always, show your love through comments and favorites. God bless and thank you for watching.